Fox and Friends are going to jump into the game here. Yeah. Everybody's having fun. Oh my God, Al Jazeera bought Current. What? I don't know. So let's find out.
This is the former Vice President of the United States of America. Right. And he sells his news network to a clearly anti-American news channel called Al Jazeera.
Now you've hit on it.
Are you kidding me?
That is just crazy.
All right, clearly. Yeah, now you hear about it. Okay, you got him. Qatar.
That is just crazy. I don't understand what you said.
Yeah,
my
crazy.
IQ's 86.
Yeah. Clearly anti-American, said the guy in an incredible British accent. Anyway, Qatar has the largest U.S. military base in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. Qatar, yes, owns Al Jazeera. We have an amazing relationship with Qatar. The U.S. government does. Now, you can criticize that relationship, and there's legitimate grounds to do so. But to claim that Qatar is somehow anti-American when they have the largest military base and this decades-long working relationship with the U.S. is crazy talk.
Clearly anti-American.
Clearly. Okay. If I'm interested in being anti-American, you know what I do? I set up the largest American military base in the region.
2 of our last 3 wars have launched from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, we got one more on that.
But the other interesting thing about that is it's not that they were the only potential buyer. He had other people trying to court Current TV, and one of them was Glenn Beck and The Blaze, but apparently their philosophies didn't dovetail enough for Al Gore to be comfortable with, according to reports.
Al says to Glenn Beck wants to buy this TV network. Right. So Al says, no, we're very sensitive to the networks not being aligned with our point of view. In other words, get lost, Glenn Beck. But okay, big oil, the sheikdom of
and
Qatar.
Al Jazeera, that's their point of view?
Jazeera.
You could see more eye to eye with Al Jazeera than Glenn Beck, Mr. Red, White, and Blue?
All right, it's 2 things that I love there. First, the Beck thing. Now, Beck explained it himself on the radio show. Oh, I tried to buy the network, right, he says. And Gore wouldn't meet with me. Yes, he wouldn't meet with you. One, because he doesn't agree with a word you say. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense. He's actually being principled.
Because I would argue because Glenn Beck is un-American.
That's right. So now, number 2 is, you have no money. Okay, it's not that Glenn Beck is broke or anything, but did he have $500 million to buy the station? Well, actually, later in the same radio segment that Beck did, he admits he didn't have the money. He said, we thought about whether we could raise the money. In other words, you don't have it. And we decided that it wasn't worth raising the money because it'd be too risky and we'd be beholden to other people. In other words, you are not a legitimate buyer at all, because you even made an internal decision that we're not going to buy the company because we don't have the money and we don't want to raise it, but I guess you wanted to mess with Gore. But since Gore was smart enough not to meet with your sorry ass, you're like, can you believe he wouldn't sell to Glenn Beck? Yeah, I could believe it, because Glenn Beck was not a legitimate buyer in the least bit. Besides which, why would Glenn Beck sell his company to Al Gore?
No.
Of course not!
I don't even know why Glenn Beck wanted it.
Glenn Beck didn't make an offer.
Didn't make an offer, wasn't gonna make an offer by his own admission. By the way, so they make fun of Al Jazeera, and what I love about it is every time, like you saw with Kilmeade there, and then he sold it to Al Jazeera. Got him, right? Like no facts, nothing. They just mention the name, and that's it. Like they feel like we won. We already mentioned the name. It's Arabic.
Right. No, like Barack Hussein Obama. We got an Arabic name.
It's done.
They haven't watched it one time. No.
Al means the. It's not game set match when you use that word.
Allah means God, and they're like, oh, Allah. But that's the Arabic word for God. So you're laughing at God, I guess. All right, so Al Jazeera, it's an Arabic word. Oh, right. Wow, look at all those awards.
They only won 2 in 2007.
Yeah, well,
and this is just Al Jazeera English, by the way.
That appears to be some of the best awards in journalism.
The Robert F. Kennedy Journalism Award.
Yeah, of course, right. Yeah. So those are all the awards they won. Of course, Fox News doesn't mention that. They don't mention facts. They just snicker at the word Al Jazeera.
But there's a legitimate concern about Al Jazeera that, from a journalist's point of view, is that you got a news network funded by a government. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know how dramatically different it is than the BBC, and so I don't know what independence. There have been stories about the Kingdom of Qatar attempting to influence Al Jazeera. I don't know how successful they've been. I'm sure that's an issue they have to deal with. It's a worthy thing that journalists and people ought to talk about. Obviously, that's not something they're capable of talking about on Fox.
Yeah. Now, one last thing. So, Al Jazeera owned by Arabs. Can you imagine a cable news station owned by Arabs?
Inconceivable.
Come on. Except that there is one other cable news network that has a second largest shareholder who might be Arab. Anybody know what cable news program network
Probably that liberal MSNBC, right?
Yeah,
No,
maybe
Ben.
CNN.
No,
I mean, there occasionally lives.
What about CNBC?
No. It would be Fox News Channel.
What?
Second
No
largest
way.
owner is this gentleman, Prince bin Talal. Okay, after Rupert Murdoch, this guy is the largest shareholder in News Corporation, the owner of Fox News. Oh yeah, he's an Arab! He's an Arab! We got him! Fox News, you must be guilty.
And if you can make fun
7%.
of Al, then you can definitely make fun of Bin.
By the way, I will from now on settle all arguments by just using the word Al Jazeera. Like, oh well, that's a good point, John. On the other hand, Al Jazeera.